All right, and welcome back to T&M Honest Reviewers. Today I'm going to be doing some of my favorite comic books. The first one is Marvel graphic novel number 4, starring the New Mutants. Now this is the first appearance of Cannonball, Sunspot, Wolfsbane, and Psyche, and they were all created by Chris Claremont. And I think this will be a really valuable book in the future because they have a new movie coming out based on this comic book. And I think they're going to put them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe too. So that's a pretty cool book. This next book is Dreadstar number 1. Now this was made in 1982 and it was created by Jim Starlin. Now if you like Star Wars, I think you'll really like Dreadstar because our hero even has a power sword and he fights an evil faction, sort of like the Empire. So, if you like science fiction and you like Star Wars, I think this would be a really good book. And you can pick this one up probably for under $10-15. So it's not a real expensive book. So check it out if you can find it. Next one is Spawn. Now this is one of the very first Image comics ever released, and it's created by Todd McFarlane. Most of you know McFarlane from all his toys that he does also. This is going to be a movie starring Jamie Foxx. This book was, there's like 1 million or more copies out there, so you can get it still relatively cheap for probably under $40. But it's a pretty good book. This next one is Spawn number 9. This is the first appearance of Angela, and you might be thinking, well, why is that, a big deal? She was actually created by Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman for Spawn Image Comics, but then there was a legal issue over the character. Neil Gaiman won. He moved her to Marvel Comics, where she became Thor's lost sister. So this comic actually has a pretty interesting backstory. You can probably get this book for $20 or under, but I think I paid about maybe $60 for this graded, so it was a pretty good deal on that one. This next one is G.I. Joe 155. Now this is the last G.I. Joe comic produced by Marvel Comics. Back in the late 80s, G.I. Joe was sort of in decline, so Marvel decided to cancel the comic. And then the comic went to Image Comics for a short run, and now is produced by IDW Comics, which I still, to this day, read, and it's a really good comic still. This one was wrote by Larry Hama, and IDW actually brought Larry Hama in to write the new G.I. Joe comic. So if you're a big fan of G.I. Joe, the Marvel comics are really good. And this one's kind of valuable. I paid like $100 for this graded, but it's a short print run on it because when the popularity was in decrease, they decided to make less issues of it. So it's kind of a valuable comic. One of my favorites. Some of my favorite characters are Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Duke. This next one is Deadpool number 1. This is the number 1 issue of the limited series produced in 1993. And Deadpool is one of my favorite characters and 2 of my very favorite movies. And the character was created by Rob Liefeld, he also created Domino and Cable, the other characters that were in the second Deadpool movie. And then he went and joined with Todd McFarlane at Image Comics, so he left Marvel behind. But this is a really nice comic, one of my favorite covers. I actually sent this to get graded, and came back pretty good grade of 9.2. You could probably pick this up ungraded for about $20 to $25 at your local comic shop. This next one is RoboCop number 1 from 1987. Now this is a Marvel Deluxe Magazine edition. It's black and white inside. And RoboCop was always one of my favorite movies, the original at least. And it spawned 3 more sequel movies. This book's a little on the rare side, but there's not much demand for RoboCop stuff. So you can probably pick this up for about maybe between $10 and $15. But if you like RoboCop, I suggest reading this comic. It's pretty interesting. This one here is actually one of my more valuable comics. Is Batman number 161 is the first appearance of Poison Ivy. And this comic was produced in 1966. And you can see Poison Ivy in one Batman movie, and then she also made appearances in the TV show Gotham. She's actually a really popular villain. A lot of people like her a lot, so I thought this was a good buy. If you want to buy one of these in like top mint condition, expect to pay as much as $1,600 for it. This one I picked up at my local comic shop. They gave me a really good deal on it. So it's one that I thought I had to have in my collection. I really enjoy this comic. I love the cover. This next one is X-Men number 266. Now, this is the first appearance of Gambit, and this was produced in 1990. This book has been steadily going up in value, and expect to pay at least $100 or more, even ungraded. So Gambit has always been a fan favorite of X-Men fans. So I think if you're building a nice comic book collection, this is a must-have for everyone's comic collection. And if you really want an expensive one, a high grade one, you will probably pay a lot of money for it. But ungraded, you could probably get this for about $100, $120. And this last one is Giant Size Annual of the Amazing Spider-Man number 21. This is actually an interesting comic because this is probably one of the first comics that had an actual variant cover. This one here, you can see Peter Parker in his tuxedo with his family behind him, but in the other version of this, which I do not have, there's villains in the background, and he is dressed as Spider-Man. So this is a pretty neat comic. I actually picked this up at a Philadelphia comic book convention, and I paid about maybe $60 for it. And it's a 9.6, so that's a really good grade. If you're a big fan of Spider-Man, you want to start a Spider-Man collection, this is definitely a must-have because he marries one of the most iconic characters, Mary Jane, in this one. There's also some pretty good flashback scenes with Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin and his Uncle Ben. So it's a pretty nice book to have. It's fairly cheap, ungraded. You could probably get it for about $20, $25. So if you like this video, leave a like or subscribe. And if you have any comments about your favorite comics or comics you would like to see, leave a message to let us know what you want to see. All right, thank you.